Hi, friends. We're going to go over the vocabulary, the anchor chart, and the read aloud. Our vocabulary for this new story. Just a second, let me move this. Pointing. When you're pointing at something, you know how to point to something. Point at the ceiling right now. Point at the floor. Point at the dog. Good job. When you're pointing at something, you're showing where it is with your finger. Close. These two are close. They have their foreheads touching. When you're close to something, you're right by it. Docked. Docked means that the ship is parked. It is right there at the harbor. People are getting right there by the deck, and people are getting onto the boat. It's docked. Unload. When you're unloading something, you're picking it up and you're taking it out. The little girl and her mom are unloading the groceries and taking them inside the house. Harbor. A harbor is where you park your boat. It's like a parking lot for boats, but it's in the water. Setting. We already talked about setting. It's where or when something happens in a story. Where does the story happen? When does the story take place? Ask yourself, why is this setting important to the story? The story this week is called Abuela by author Doris and illustrated by Alyssa Clevin. I want you to think about the setting throughout the story and how it changes, and why it's important to the story as well. Abuela takes me on the bus. We go all around the city. Abuela is my grandma. She is my mother's mother. Abuela means grandma in Spanish. Abuela speaks mostly Spanish because that's what people spoke where she grew up. Before she came to this country, Abuela and I are always going places. Today we're going to the park. El Parque es lindo, says Abuela. I know what she means. I think the park is beautiful too. Tantos parajos, Abuela says, as a flock of birds surrounds us. So many birds. They're picking up the bread we brought. Do you see the different settings in the story right now? From the bus and now to the park? What if they picked me up and carried me high above the park? What if I could fly? Abuela would wonder where I was. Swooping like a bird, I'd call to her. Now the setting's up in the sky, isn't it? Then she'd see me flying. Rosalba, the bird. Rosalba el pajaros, she'd say. Ven Abuela, come, Abuela, I'd say. Si quiero volar, Abuela would reply as she leaped into the sky with her skirt flapping in the wind. Now her grandma's flying in the sky with her. Now where's the setting? They're not above the park anymore. We would fly all over the city. Mira, Abuela would say, pointing, and I'd look as we soared over parks and streets, dogs and people. We'd wave to the people waiting for the bus. Buenos dias, we'd say. Buenos dias, good morning, they'd call up to us. We'd fly over factories and trains. And glide close to the sea. Cerca del mar, we'd say. We'd almost touch the tops of the waves. Abuela's skirt would be a sail. She could race with the sailboats. I'll bet she'd win. We'd fly to where the ships are docked and watch people unload fruits from the land where Abuela grew up. Mangoes and bananas and papayas. Those are all Spanish words. So are rodeo, patio, and burro. Maybe we'd see a cousin of Abuela's hooking boxes up of fruit to a crane. We saw her cousin Daniel once unloading and loading the ships. Out past the boats in the harbor, we'd see the Statue of Liberty. Me gusta, Abuela would say. Abuela really likes her. I do too. We would circle around Liberty's head and wave to the people visiting her. That would remind Abuela of when she first came to this country. But see, there's another setting. They're at the Statue of Liberty now. Vamos al aeroporto, she'd say. She'd take me to the airport where the plane that first brought her landed. Ciudad, Abuela would tell me. We'll have to be careful as we went for a short ride. Now their setting is on the airplane. They're flying with the airplane. Then we could fly to Tio's, Pablo's, and Tia Ellis's store. Pablo is my uncle, my Tio, and Elisa is my aunt, my Tia. They'd be surprised when we flew in, but they'd offer us a cool limonada. Flying is hot work. Pero quiero volar más, Abuela would say. She wants to fly more. I want to fly more too. Now they're at her aunt and uncle's store. We could fly to Las Nubes, the clouds. One looked like a cat, un gato. One looks like a bear, un oso. One looks like a chair, una silla. Descansemos un momento. Abuela would say she wants to rest a moment. We would rest in our chair, and Abuela would hold me in her arms, and the whole sky, our house, nuestra casa. We'd be as high as airplanes, balloons, and birds, and higher than the tall buildings downtown, but we'd fly there too to look around. We could find the building where my father works. Hola, Papa, I'd say as I waved, and Abuela would do a flip for fun as we passed by the windows. Mira, I hear Abuela say. Look, she's telling me. I do look, and we are back in the park. We are walking by the lake. Abuela probably wants to go for a boat ride. Vamos a otra aventura, she says. She wants us to go for another adventure. That's just one of the things I love about Abuela. She likes adventures. Now they're at the lake. Abuela takes my hand. Vamos, she says. Let's go. Now they're on a paddle boat, aren't they? So now I want you to go to Schoology, and I want you to draw a picture of 3 different settings in the story and tell me what they are.